Hi, this presentation is for Group 7, Christy, Reagan, and Arlisha, and it is over the history of the coffin. It is important for us to understand the origin and history of the coffin to gain insight into the societal customs and cultures surrounding death and burial in early society and how it has influenced the funeral business and casket industry today. The coffin has its origins in the ancient civilizations of Egypt, Rome, and Greece. These coffins, also called sarcophagus, were typically made of stone and were adorned with sculptures and inscriptions. The ancient Egyptians' preoccupation with death and fixation with the protection of the body in the afterlife led to coffins being a key part of burial rites. Coffins were often anthropodal or human-shaped and were believed to serve as protection, along with having religious and symbolic significance. Bodies were mummified, placed into coffins, and the coffins were then buried in pyramids. These pictures are examples of some of the earliest stone sarcophagi used by Egyptian pharaohs. Throughout history, the coffin has been defined as many different things, depending on what it's being used for. The coffin is defined as a box or a chest when it's used for displaying or burying of a corpse, and it's also described as a pall when it's being used to transport dead bodies. The time periods highlighted span from 2686 BCE in ancient Egypt to 700 BCE in Central Europe with Celtic influence, to the 18th and 19th century impact of English laws, wars, and major events, and well into the 21st century. This presentation will also highlight historical figures and important people like the Holy Roman Emperor Joseph II, Amon Dunbar Fisk, and John A. Hillenbrand. In 1784, the Holy Roman Emperor Joseph II declared that coffins were to be reused in order to save wood. The reusable coffins were built with a trapdoor so that dead bodies could be lowered and dropped into a hole, then the coffins would be pulled back up out of the hole and reused for the next burial. Needless to say that this practice was not well received, and there was such a public outcry that this practice was actually abandoned in 6 months. During the 1850s and to 1870s, cast iron coffins became popular among wealthier families. Amon Dunbar Fisk patented the first cast iron casket in 1848. The Fisk airtight coffin, also known as the Fisk mummy, was designed to preserve the corpse for travel, delayed interment, and also to keep from spreading disease. However, these cast iron coffins were not widely accepted. They were very heavy, weighing up to 300 pounds, and expensive, ranging from $7 to $40, whereas wooden coffins averaged $1 to $3. In 1884, John A. Hillenbrand purchased the Batesville Coffin Company, and in 1906 changed the name to Batesville Casket Company. Batesville would go on to become a major trendsetter, an industry leader in the coffin and casket industry with over 40 patents, one for the first mass-produced metal gasketed casket, and the company was also the first to place plush liners in caskets. Metallic burial cases were also popular among wealthy families and were often purchased to deter grave robbers. In 1885, General Ulysses S. Grant was buried in an iron casket that was created in New York. The use and evolution of the coffin significantly impacted the funeral services industry by leading to the widespread use of caskets for funeral services of all types. Coffins continued to evolve from ancient times, and during the 17 and 1800s, there were increasing rumors and fears of being buried alive. During those times, there was no way to verify the diagnosis of brain death, and safety concerns were developing. These safety coffins were designed with bells and rope and also escape doors. The belief was that if a person was buried alive, one bell would be above ground and the other bell would be inside the coffin, so the person could pull the rope and cause the bells to start ringing or open the safety door to be rescued if they were not actually dead. The American Civil War was from 1861 to 1865. And during this time, there was such a high demand for palls needed to transport dead bodies that the mass productions of coffins began. This major event also revolutionized the coffin industry and led to the great shift from coffins to caskets. Due to the vast amount of casualties caused by the war, societal views on death and burial changed significantly, and there became a growing need and desire to somehow beautify death and to move away from the simplistic and rustic-looking coffin to a more embellished and grandiose-styled container that would also display core craftsmanship. By the turn of the 20th century, caskets had relatively replaced coffins in the U.S. Wooden caskets were the most popular at the time, yet by the mid-1900s, there was another major shift in the industry from wood to steel. Steel casket production had grown to 50% of the market, and by the 1970s, 2/3 of all caskets were metal. Moving into the 21st century, stainless steel caskets became widely preferred, and the embellishment and personalization of caskets became more of a norm than an exception. Wooden caskets and coffins are still a viable part of the industry, however, and are often still in demand for burial rites connected to cremations and some religious affiliations. These are pictures of some specialized and personalized coffins and caskets in the shapes of instruments, wine corks, pianos, and boxes of chocolate. And I just thought that these pictures were so interesting to see how far we've come in this industry. There is now a vast variety of coffins and caskets, from cloth-covered caskets to metal caskets, hardwood, and softwood caskets. And these are some images of those. The coffin has undoubtedly evolved throughout the years and had a significant impact on the funeral services industry. Today, as families, friends, and loved ones say their final goodbyes and pay tribute to their loved ones for a life well lived, I think that this would be a perfect way to conclude our presentation. Again, this is Group 7 on the history of the coffin. Thank you.